Hey, it's Cam with the West Central Montana Avalanche Center. Instead of a snow pit-centric video today, we're going to look back on the past month and talk about how we got to where we are today with the Snowpack. Often we talk about specific avalanche problems, but in this we are also going to step back and talk about danger patterns and how those patterns can help us recognize problems. So January was a dry month just about everywhere, with some snow in the first half of the month, but nothing for the second half. And this dry period really set the stage for February's avalanche hazard. Starting on the 20th of January, we saw some absolutely frigid temperatures, followed by a week of seasonally normal daytime temperatures and cold, clear nights. We saw widespread near-surface faceting through a process known as diurnal recrystallization during this period. Additionally, we saw surface hoar grown on most all slopes. For winds, we had a full week of average ridgetop wind speeds in the single digits. For surface hoar growth, wind plays a big role. Too much and it won't form, but with just a little bit of air movement, we get some prime surface hoar development conditions. At the end of the month on the 28th through the 31st, things got warm. A strong sun on solar aspects really destroyed any surface hoar on those solar aspects, but it created a melt-freeze crust at the surface. On due south aspects and at mid-elevation, the crust is thicker and in many places was fully supportable for skiers. On the fringes of the solar areas, though, the crust is thin and well-developed near-surface facets remain directly underneath. With snow arriving on the 1st of February, we were looking at two avalanche danger patterns. Number one being potential for buried surface hoar, and the second being new snow after a long period of dry, cold weather. As the storm began on the 1st, we saw a brief period of moderate southwest and west winds, and although these wind speeds would normally be enough to destroy surface hoar, the winds were primarily impacting slopes with the sun crust on the south and west aspects, while the north and east aspects where the surface hoar primarily existed were not wind affected. Most areas saw about an inch of water on the 1st, translating to about 12 to 18 inches of snow, with the central Bitterroot picking up a bit more. By the 3rd, Sealy, the Rattlesnake, Lolo Pass, and the southern Bitterroot had about an inch and a half of water accumulated, with the central Bitterroot just under 3 inches. On the 4th, with more snow forecasted and an uptick in temperatures, an avalanche warning was issued. And the concern was that the warmer temperatures and more dense snow could create an upside-down snowpack and help tip us into a natural avalanche cycle. We really don't know how widespread that cycle was because visibility in the mountains was poor and has been poor since. And snow continued through the 6th with the following storm totals. So the Rattlesnake has 2.8 inches of water, the Lolo 3.3 inches of water. The Bitterroot at Central Bitterroot and Lost Horse has 4.2, the Southern Bitterroot at 2.1, and Sealy Lake at 2.3. And those are water weight totals. As far as snow totals go, there's about 4 to 5 feet of new snow in most areas, with the outlier being the Southern Bitterroot and the Rattlesnake with a little bit less. Most of the snow was low density and really didn't consolidate into a slab quickly. Additionally, it came over 4 or 5 days, giving the weak layers time to adjust to the load. When this happens, sometimes it just takes a change in conditions to tip things into being reactive, whether that's a period of warming or just some time to let the weight of the water consolidate the lower portion of the slab that's directly above the interface. Snow pit tests have really been inconclusive, with some extended column tests propagating fully and some not propagating at all. I'd caution and say that if you're only seeing sloughing at the surface in the new snow, it's likely that sloughing isn't going all the way down to the weak layer interface, and it's likely some degree of slab remains below the loose snow. And sloughs do have the potential to step down and impact a weaker layer, triggering a slab avalanche. So the most concerning layer is the buried surface hoar. Surface hoar often forms lower on the slope or in areas outside what we would consider the normal start zone. So if we look at this picture from the Crested Butte Avalanche Center, we see the avalanches releasing low on the slope with ski tracks, while the upper portion of the start zone is affected, and this is pretty typical. So if you're looking for surface hoar, dig in multiple areas and just know that if you don't find it in one pit, that's not enough to rule out that it isn't elsewhere on the slope. As for the near surface facets and buried facet crust combinations, they're still concerning, but are going to be more stubborn than buried surface hoar. So during this period, we got some good news. Our agreement with the Forest Service was signed, which would allow us to begin issuing avalanche forecasts with danger ratings. So on the 8th and 9th, forecasted danger was considerable, with the primary concerns being D2 wind slabs and D2 to D3 persistent slab avalanches. So, where are we going from here? Well, we're trending toward the dreaded spooky moderate, otherwise known as low probability, high consequence. Really, if we step back and get away from looking at one snow pit or one extended column test, we just need to realize that we have 2 to 4 inches of water weight, making a really perfect 3 to 5 foot slab on top of known persistent weak layers. And this problem's not going to go away quickly, hence the term persistent weak layers. Human-triggered avalanches will become less likely by the day, but will be still possible to trigger a large and destructive avalanche for at least the next week. Looking into the future for weather, we've got a period of cold temperatures midweek this week, and another storm looks to impact the area next weekend, with potential for some freezing rain in the valleys. And this is an early indicator that this snow will be a little bit warmer and more dense than the last systems. It's really too early to make any definitive statements on this, but it does have potential to complicate the avalanche problem by putting some fresh, denser snow on top of some near-surface facets that are likely to form this Tuesday and Wednesday during a period of cold and clear temperatures. So that's where we're at right now in the snowpack. Unfortunately, I wish we could say that these problems aren't going to be with us for a while, but they are going to stick around, and we need to treat them with respect. Any avalanche triggered on those weak layers has potential to be very large and destructive. So with that, please let us know what you're seeing in the mountains, especially since we haven't had really any good periods of visibility throughout this storm. We don't know along the Bitterroot Crest and in some of the more remote areas what is avalanche and what hasn't. So if you do get the opportunity with some clear weather and you see something up there, please snap a picture and send it in to us. It really kind of helps us track where the avalanche problem is and where avalanches have been running. So with that, ski and ride safe.